he was cheering it on.
How is he cheering it on if he's pointing out what's happening right in front of his face?
These people are scared and afraid, and that's why
were they not?
Protest.
He's interpreting what the protesters were doing.
How is he cheering it on when he's telling you what's happening? That's part of what we do.
In this video, you are going to see a Trump stooge have his and MAGA's hypocrisy exposed on live TV over the arrest of Don Lemon and the overall suppression of free speech by this authoritarian regime. The first short clip you'll see is the mayor of LA, Karen Bass, who will set the context for you. Let's watch this together.
Remember, the experiment started right here in Los Angeles, and I said it was an experiment. It was very clear to me that one of the ultimate goals in all of this is for the American people to accept a militarization of our cities.
Okay, the stakes are set. Now, enter Pete Seat, the MAGA stooge on the panel. CNN's legal analyst, Ellie Honig, explains that the case against Lehman is legally doomed. But watch how Pete tries to bypass the law completely by arguing that Don Lemon deserves to be arrested. But listen to the ridiculous reasons he gives.
But what do you think the picture is for the journalists who are there, and especially, Georgia Ford? You could see her microphone was, labeled for her independent news organization. Don Lemon, he's a journalist that is known around the world. He was reporting live from the church. What do you make of that?
I think the cases against Don Lemon and Georgia Ford are doomed, and I will grant that I think the cases against the other people who interrupted that church service are valid. And I think they did commit those crimes. But the reason that the case against Don and Ms. Ford are different is because of the First Amendment. You cannot charge a journalist for doing their job. It is not a crime to cover a crime. And just to put it in context, let's just go through the sequence of how this charge came about. DOJ first goes to a magistrate judge who says, I am going to issue the criminal complaint against 3 of the people who went into the church, but not the complaint against Don Lemon. Then DOJ says, well, let's appeal that up to the chief district court judge who issues this scathing letter saying, this is not even a thing you're asking me to do. I asked every other district court judge in this district, and they said they'd never even heard of it. You're rejected again. And then they get a grand jury to indict today. So it's on the 3rd try they come back with this indictment against Don Lemon. It is doomed. I'm telling you. It's the easiest prediction I've ever made.
And that appeals judge not only said, why are you coming to me with this, but also said 2 of the 5 protesters were not protesters at all. Instead, they were a journalist and his producer. There is no evidence that those 2 engaged in any criminal behavior or conspired to do so. Pete, the Trump administration was always pushing the envelope. But in this particular case, this is crossing a line. The Constitution is very clear. There is freedom of press in this nation, and that right is just as valid as all the others in the Constitution. Why are they doing this, and shouldn't more people be speaking out about it?
I know you save unpopular opinions for Table for 5, which everyone should watch on Saturday mornings, but I'm going to start with an unpopular opinion, and that is calling Don Lemon a journalist is like calling AOC a free market capitalist. He is an activist. Look at his YouTube page. Here's a couple of titles of recent videos. 1, this is how to deal with ICE goons. 2, the viral MAGA idiot. 3, Don goes off on MAGA and ICE.
Did you catch the trick? He says he is an activist. Look at his YouTube page. He is arguing that if you have a biased opinion, you lose your First Amendment rights. Watch how Abby Phillip and the other panelists realize exactly what he is doing and shut him down. Watch specifically for the moment Pete claims Lemon was cheering on the protest, despite 0 evidence.
This is someone who is not a journalist. He is an activist.
Is it your position that anybody who expresses opinions is not a journalist?
Well, even if you
no.
agree,
I mean, well, let's deal with the accusation that you're making that he is not a journalist.
I think he shed the veneer of being a journalist a long time ago.
Because we have in the press a lot of different kinds of journalists. The Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the New York Post, they've got editorial boards where people are expressing opinions all the time. They're not journalists?
I think that Don Lemon is not a journalist.
But why?
But
is it because in his view, in your view, he's expressing an opinion?
If you believe that he is a journalist,
but why?
I still think that he is wrong in this instance.
But you're not saying
I just don't. I think he's an activist.
Well, but you just don't is not a reason.
Listen to him when he's in the church and he's cheering them on. And he's saying, this is what you do. This is what you do. You have to make people uncomfortable.
That was his interpretation of what they were doing.
He was pointing out that people were scared and afraid and practically
observing. That's what journalists do. They observe.
No, he was was cheering it on.
How is he cheering it on if he's pointing out what's happening right in front of his
people
face?
Are scared and afraid, and that's why
Were they not?
Protest.
He's interpreting what the protesters
cheering
were
it
doing.
on.
How is he cheering it on when he's telling you what's happening? That's part of what we do.
Did you see the parts where he was?
He also told them,
Did you see the parts where he was
I'm glad that you're doing this.
Where he was interviewing the parishioners? Did you see those parts?
Yeah, and I also saw when the pastor asked him to leave, and he refused to leave for 7 minutes.
I didn't see a single moment.
He lost that round, but this is where the video gets important. The same logic Pete used to justify arresting a journalist, he's an activist, is now used to justify the killing of Alex Preddy. Watch the panel pivot to the DOJ investigation into the shooting and watch Pete use the exact same playbook. He wasn't a victim, he was an agitator. Watch Adam Mockler finally snap.
But Trump is still going back to the drawing board now, calling Alex Preddy an agitator, perhaps an insurrectionist. He says his stock has gone way down. The president continuing to malign the victim here.
I think it's fair to say that Alex Preddy was an agitator. We saw that video of him from 11 days prior to the shooting.
A domestic terrorist?
But can you let me finish? But I don't think this is the appropriate time to say it. He has passed away. An investigation is absolutely warranted. And I believe into both instances. I think DOJ, Todd Blanche, and the team have seen the same videos that we have been seeing from all these multiple angles of what happened last Saturday. And it's very difficult to look at those videos and ascertain exactly what took place. I mean, it took us days to find out that 2 officers fired their weapons. We didn't know that for days. There's other things that we may not know about what happened until the investigation happens, and I think it's the right move. When it comes to Renee Good, I would still investigate, but there have been a lot of use of force experts who have gone on television, including on CNN, and said from what they can see, it was warranted in that situation.
I also think there's a trust gap here. Right? Like, even if he says that they're going to do an investigation, but given all the other rhetoric around this coming out of both DOJ and DHS, a lot of people are not going to trust the conclusion.
The same administration that called Renee Good a domestic terrorist hours after her death, the same administration that called Alex Preddy a quote-unquote assassin like an hour after he was executed on the street, now wants us to trust their investigation on this. Do you agree with Kristi Noem's characterization that she made like an hour after Alex Preddy was murdered? That
Can you just wait until the investigation is done?
That's what wait. That is such a good point. Can you say that to Kristi Noem? Kristi Noem, can you wait until the investigation is done? I'm going to ask one more time. When Kristi Noem said he was a domestic terrorist,
I'm not here to be interrogated by you, Adam. I'm saying wait until the investigation is done.
So you have no answer.
But you prejudge everything that this administration does.
No, I mean,
have you ever been wrong about the administration?
I'm sure I have, absolutely. But when the video of Alex Preddy came out, and then Kristi Noem an hour later said domestic terrorist and assassin,
and
that was
should not have done that.
That is all I was asking you. Thank you.
You see the pattern. When Don Lemon holds a microphone, Pete calls him an activist so they can arrest him. When Alex Preddy is shot by agents, Pete calls him an agitator so they can justify the killing. This is the rhetorical game of authoritarianism. You don't argue the law, you attack the identity of the person to strip them of their rights. Pete got humiliated in this debate because he couldn't back up his claims with facts, only labels. What do you think? Did Pete make a single valid point, or was he just throwing labels around to defend the indefensible? Let me know in the comments, and if you want to see more videos like this, hit the like and subscribe button, and don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching.